everybody, and welcome. I would like to welcome you all to the show and welcome back Justin Coleman. You guys remember Justin from a few weeks. It's been about a month ago, hasn't it?
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And he's back with us to discuss some safety tips today. But I'm going to give him a chance, or I can go over either way. A little bit about your background. So if somebody did not see the previous episode with
Yeah.
you, they'll have an idea of why I think you're the perfect person to talk about safety. And you have some experience with this sort of stuff.
I think some of the you're more concise with these things. So as far as
Okay.
explaining the background, I'm going to go ahead and defer to you.
When Justin was a teenager, he was in a situation where he ended up taking a man's life and spent 14 years. It's a 15-year sentence, but you spent 14 of the years actually in a prison from the time you were 17.
Yeah.
You went in when you were 17 years old. So you spent your early adulthood learning how to defend yourself and fight and making sure that you weren't a victim while you were there. So we want to make sure all of you people out there don't become victims as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like what you and I were discussing earlier when I first got off the bus there. I mean, I'm 130, maybe 140 pounds soaking wet kid. I can't even grow facial hair at the point. It's that I'm walking into, a higher security prison in the state with blue eyes, and I am not intimidating anybody.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, not a single human being in that entire compound thought I better leave him alone while I'm carrying my stuff to my cell.
I imagine they were thinking they were going to take all of your stuff.
Yeah, no, that was a fact because there were attempts.
Yeah.
That's the thing is that's the thing about getting tried is it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
For no other reason than everybody in there needs to know where you fall on the food chain.
Yeah. But lucky for you, you grew up in a way where you had a little bit of street smarts and knew how to defend yourself when you got there. So
yeah, I didn't get there on accident, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Yeah, so no, I didn't have ability or skills per se.
More instinct.
Yeah, it's just living that way where, when I was living outdoors as a kid, it was, and I'm mixed up in all this dirt with everybody and I'm doing all these jobs for local boys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's going to go sideways. It's going to go bad. And you got to either be able to handle it or get away from it. There's really no in between.
Exactly. Exactly. And you're here talking to us today, so you obviously know a thing or two.
Yeah.
Well, otherwise you wouldn't be here.
Well, back then, especially being a kid that I was, if something went sideways in some dirt I was doing, beating the guy up wasn't really an option.
Yeah.
Because I'm going after adults. I'm going after grown men. And so if it didn't go according to plan, I had to be able to get out of there. It was it's not a movie where I fought my way out. It's you gator roll and you move.
And that's one of the things we want to talk about today. Usually the best option, especially for smaller people, and I'm mostly talking about women, but smaller men too. But I mean, in general, women are smaller than men. And in general, men are the ones attacking women or smaller people, not women attacking smaller people. So just for generality's sake, we're talking about if you're a woman and somebody is trying to attack you, the best thing to do is to get away from that person, not to fight them to the death. Am I right?
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is very few situations actually call for that. I mean, especially, if you're talking about like smaller guys, every guy wants to be the one who's standing over the guy he just beat and everything like that. Yeah, we all want that feeling and everything. It's not realistic in a lot of situations.
Absolutely.
And, you got to be able to work with what's available to you.
Yeah.
Not what you want to be able. It's what you can do, not what you want to do.
Exactly.
And that's the reality of the situation.
I personally think everyone should carry a weapon. I personally
Mm.
always have a weapon on my person.
Mhm.
Most of the time it's a gun, but it can't always be a gun because there's some
Yeah.
places you can't take guns. Um, so there's you were telling me about some weapons that are not necessarily weapons, but will work in a situation that you
Mhm.
carry or you can use as weapons, but aren't a knife or a gun or something like that. You want
Yeah.
to tell us about that?
Well, the thing is when I talk about improvised weapons, it's all about using a thing that's not supposed to be a weapon.
Yeah.
Because back when we were training and back when I was in the mix of everything, everything's a weapon. Your environment's a weapon. A table is a weapon.
Mhm.
You
Well, I
know,
mean, if somebody busts in here right now, if I can't get to my gun, I could use this coffee cup as a weapon and smack
yeah,
somebody over the head with it, and there's hot
yeah,
coffee in it too, so it probably wouldn't
yeah.
tickle.
And so the other part of that, and maybe this speaks to that sort of criminal mindset that I've spent most of my life in. It's not
Mhm.
just is it a weapon? It's can you explain it to if you're having to explain yourself to an
Yeah,
officer? Can you explain why you have it in a
true.
plausible way? That
You don't wanna say these are my assault pliers.
yeah. Well, the thing is a knife is always a knife. A gun is always a gun. You can't
True.
explain them away. You have them for a purpose.
Yep.
But it's like that old joke. If you're going to keep a baseball bat in your car,
Mhm.
put a catcher's mitt in there with it.
Yeah.
Your attorney will thank you.
Yeah, and a baseball for that matter. Maybe a
That's the thing.
helmet.
You have to be able to plausibly explain why it wasn't meant to be a weapon,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
the
that makes total
circumstances
sense.
caused you to use it as one.
Mhm.
That's why I always thought like my favorite go-to in those situations, and my grown daughters have this, is a an actual padlock.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
people
just
go to the gym. You have the padlock
it,
for the gym.
that's the thing is they have it in their car with their YMCA membership with the
Mhm.
key.
Mm.
But the fact of the matter is, so it makes sense why you would have it. It has an easy explanation to it.
Yeah,
If you have, just in
absolutely.
case you have to explain yourself, at the same time, you can slip that over your finger, and it is an absolute perfect brass knuckle.
Absolutely. And
It,
another
it
thing
goes
that
right
I've
over the ring. The lock falls into your hand, which creates a hand pack. Like people don't
Mhm.
realize you can put a battery in your hand, and it's going to make your fist 10 times more dangerous just holding a
Absolutely.
battery.
One of the things that I used to carry as a teenager that was in the same spirit is aerosol hairspray
Hmm.
because you couldn't have pepper spray in the city back
Yeah.
then. So, but aerosol hairspray in somebody's eyes is gonna make them blind momentarily at
Hmm.
least, so you can get away.
So, but yeah, so that's what I mean by it has to have a plausible explanation.
Mhm.
So that it's like, no, it's an impromptu thing, and you can explain it away and keep yourself from getting in trouble. Um, because people seem to assume that where they live has a self defense law. And whatever state you're in, I encourage you to look that up.
Yep.
A lot of them actually don't have self defense laws.
And
So
even
even
if
if
they
you were to say,
do
like, I was using this to try to save myself, there's
Mhm.
you're actually required to flee, not defend yourself,
Yeah.
which means you're in trouble now. So
Well,
you have to be able to,
even states with stand your ground laws, they're very specific,
yeah,
and it has to be under a very specific set of circumstances that you can use the self-defense law to get out of hurting somebody else.
yeah,
So the best thing to do is not, the best thing to do is get away, not
yeah.
stay and hurt somebody.
Well, and that's just it. My daughters, all the things that I've trained them to do, I didn't
Mhm.
train my daughters to win fights.
Yeah.
I train my daughters to get away from them, do what
Yes.
the steps that they need to do to get from A to B.
Yeah.
So, like going back to the lock thing,
Mhm.
when I tell that, when I showed them that, that isn't so they can square up and box with a grown man.
Yeah.
That is absolutely what not that is for. It's it's so that they know that when if they ever have to use that, they're to go after this spot right here
Okay.
until they hit it.
Good to know.
You get a clean hit on that collarbone, with that metal, he's not going to chase you.
Yeah. Now let's say you are let's say I'm a woman. I am a woman, but let's just say I am.
Okay, hypothetically.
Hypothetically, and I have a toolbox in my car and I grab a screwdriver. What spot do I want to go to if somebody's trying to attack me in my car with a screwdriver?
The point is to evade, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, to get away.
So there it is. So because those are two different conversations. Mm-hmm. Where do you hit to evade, and where do you hit to do more?
Yeah, exactly.
It's always the leg. The leg is meaty. It's easy to hit. Yeah. It's hard for them to get out of your way.
Okay.
If you're going for my body, it's very easy for me to fling myself out of the way. Yeah. I can move my upper body quickly. The thing that's making me move, though, is in itself slow.
And I imagine if their leg is injured, they'd be slower chasing after you as well.
The whole point is you only need one hit.
Yep.
That's the thing, is the whole point is to, you get one good hit. Mm-hmm. The idea is that you can now escape. Yep. Just leave it in there. Let them think about it.
Waffle Salter is asking if it's better to have a Phillips or a flathead screwdriver as your assault screwdriver. I would assume a Phillips would be more penetrating, but I haven't tried it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I have a screwdriver in my car for changing my license plates that happens to be a Phillips, and I just forgot to take it out.
Gotcha. It makes sense.
So,
you got to make sure there's Phillips head screws on your license plate.
Yeah, So, but the idea is that you're not trying to fight them with it. The whole point of everything is get a clean hit so you can go. I don't care how tough this guy is. If you leave it in his leg, he's going to be focused on that, not you.
Exactly.
That's going to give him a minute to figure out. Mm-hmm. So, but it's all about, you need a few moments to break away and run. That's the whole point. If you're trying to do something more with it, there's a great scene in Gangs of New York that explains it perfectly.
Okay. Well, we're not trying to kill anybody.
But I'm not explaining that. That's not what I'm doing.
How to Get Away with Crimes channel. This is a
this has nothing to do with Get Away. If you know the scene I'm talking about, the whole point. I don't, like I said, with my daughters, I don't teach them how to win. I teach them how to do what needs to be done to go.
Yeah.
So
now, your Twitter, we talked about this a little bit. A couple of weeks ago, I guess it was. And then because you had posted something on your Twitter that was about a man's nose and how delicate it is. Yeah. Tell us about that. You started tweeting a bunch of good tips too after we had the conversation to start with. I like it.
Well, you got me to thinking about it.
Yeah.
And what it is, the nose thing is, it's an example I use. What women need to understand is, like, if a guy's attacking them, bigger guy, he's stronger, he's faster, whatever. Yes, he is stronger and faster and everything like that. His body is just as fragile.
True.
We have the exact same weak points everybody else does.
You've got a couple of more weak points too.
Yeah. So the example I used with my girls, and I encouraged everybody else to show what I mean by this, is, and anybody listening can do this, go find, go to your husband, go to your friend or anything like that, and just place your finger underneath their nose, sideways like this, and tell them to hold their head still while you gently lift it upwards. And try not to laugh as they buckle.
Exactly.
Because they can't hold their head there.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're not going to be able to, you don't have to push hard. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be able to hold their ground on that. Like, I'm going to resist you.
Exactly.
That same thing applies to all kinds of places on the body. A guy can be the most, like when I pointed out with the collarbone. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you can bench 500. The bone is still right there. Mm-hmm. I don't care how big your muscles are. It's right there.
For the most part, even if you're a giant, like fat, have a layer of fat around you, the collarbones are still really close to the surface. We were talking about the kidney is another weak spot.
But that's
But
the whole point is everybody, yes, they have these advantages on you, but they have the
they still have a
being the
collarbone.
being the smaller guy in
Mhm.
all of these brawls that I was in. I had to figure out what their body won't do.
Mhm.
So because these guys, they're more seasoned than I am, they're
Yeah.
bigger, they're stronger. These guys have been in here already they've been here a decade or more working out and fighting.
Yeah.
They have every advantage on me, you know, and this part of their neck is just as weak as mine.
Yes. Absolutely.
Little things like that. I you could squat 500 pounds, your ear is still right on the side of your head.
Yes. Absolutely.
So you have to find all of these common ground weak spots that everybody has. You know,
One of the things that I'm not sure if I've talked about it on air before, but just for my audience, I know you and I have talked about it, but when my husband was in Afghanistan, I took Hapkido uh, lessons, I guess they were, and I was studying for my black belt when I hurt my back and had to stop. So I earned a brown belt in Hapkido, and there's definitely, if you don't know what Hapkido is, it's basically the martial arts for the weaker people who are using the other person's body weight and the other person's strength against them, and you learn all of the weak spots and how to get away if somebody's attacking you, basically. And one
yeah,
of the a couple of the things that I learned there is one of the first things you learn is if somebody's trying to grab you by the wrist and take you away, if you I gotta turn for this. There's always an opening right here. So if
mhm,
they're grabbing you by the wrist, you just need to turn your wrist. Am I in the camera? I'm not.
I see it.
And pull as hard as you can.
Hmm.
And no matter how much grip strength that person has, your arm will come out.
Hmm.
If somebody's bear hugging you from behind, you just squat down really fast and you can get out of
Hmm.
that. So there's different things like that as well. If somebody's trying to
Hmm.
take you to a second location, don't go along with it. Do every bite, kick, scream, play dead, whatever you need to do not to go to that second location. The second location is never butterflies and sunshine. Nothing good is going to happen at the second location.
Yes, and that's the thing is, like I was telling you earlier, I never did any kind of formal martial art,
I
anything
think
like that.
it's weird. I think what I was doing in the formal martial arts, where the person knew what I was going to do and let me do it, your training is
Hmm.
probably much better than my training.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is I mean, there was a period there during my time where we were legitimately pit fighting.
Yeah.
Like they're betting money on us. It's one of those
Yeah.
situations. And
Like the real Fight Club.
yeah, no, they're coming in. It was this whole thing, but I'm not getting into it now.
Yeah.
But one of the things, like I was telling you earlier, is even street fights have rules.
Hmm.
There's people will people use the term like sucker punch. That thing always blew my mind, the whole concept of a sucker punch, because we didn't have that.
Yeah, they
There's
do
there's
now. I've seen
there no
videos
there's no
of
such there's no such thing as a sucker punch.
yeah.
It's anything, absolutely everything goes.
Mhm.
Nobody's gonna stop it. And
Exactly.
so one of your people actually commented on here of talking about like the kidney thing.
That is my
And
husband. He knows a thing about, having somebody piss
okay,
blood.
well, I spotted that over there, and it actually took me back to what you and I were talking about earlier. One of the things
Yeah.
when you like, if somebody like in these situations, everything I always went over was get in close, get in fast,
Mhm.
because you actually in those situations you didn't even have the ability to get a few feet away from them. That
Yeah.
wasn't even an option. There's no you're not going to dance around.
Mhm.
So get in close, get in fast. And I actually did that with like my older two daughters, where if running is literally not an option,
Yeah.
then trying to stay out of their arm's reach isn't an option either. So that's the thing. If you can get out of their arm's reach, then the running's an option. But if
Yeah.
that's not in, you might as well get in close.
I think the
So
only way running's not an option where you're not in arm's reach is if you are in the middle of nowhere and there's nowhere to run to. Like if
exactly.
they take you out to a field in the middle of nowhere.
Yes. So the whole idea is do as much damage as you can to give that option of back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So like with them, I trained them where it's like get in close because they never expect you to rush them when you're the weaker, smaller one. But they understand that you live here.
Mm-hmm.
Get into their armpit, live in their rims, live in their ribs.
Yes.
Because the fact of the matter is when that happens, if you can get there, this arm is almost removed from the equation, and I can't reach across
to
hurt you, which means I have to rotate my body to put you in harm's way again. I have to turn my entire body. You have to take a single step left or right to stay where you were.
Yeah.
It's very easy to hold that position. They both know where the kidney is.
Yeah.
When you're there, you work that until you get a flinch.
Exactly.
When he stops trying to grab you and goes to defend his kidney, that's your time to run. That's your time to get away. Because like I said, it goes back to, I don't care how strong they are. I don't care how many sit-ups they do and everything like that.
Yeah.
That is vulnerable. It's just true to every human being on the planet.
Absolutely. I was trying to figure out, somebody spammed in, I guess it was on Twitch, but I don't know how to get to, I need to have that open, I guess. I don't have any mods in Twitch, so I guess that person's just going to be here till after the stream and I can block them.
Yeah, I saw something that looked like an advertisement.
Yeah, yeah. I was about to say, hey, somebody block that person, but all of my mods are on YouTube, not in Twitch. Oh well. Live, you learn. It's just one of the things about streaming is every time I do it, I get a little better and I learn something. So maybe one of these days I'll have a whole stream where nothing goes wrong. So
is that like a compliment though, that you caught the attention of one of these things? And they're like, yeah. So you're on the radar now. You're up and coming.
Yes, absolutely. I'd like to just say hello to my chat. We've talked to you guys a little bit, but Waffle Salter, thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate that. Lit is here. Hazel423, thanks for coming. Karen number 2 is here. Of course, News Now Enemy, who is my strongest soldier, always putting links in the chat. I appreciate that. If I miss anybody, I apologize. Whoever that... Oh, bad quality memes. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. I know you can't get here often, but when you do, I really do appreciate it. And I did see Arvolt earlier in the chat. I'm not sure if he's still here. Oh, he is still here. Thank you. Arvolt apparently. Oh, okay. He is on Twitch right now, so I can make him a mod. I don't know how to do that on the fly. Arvolt, stay over there, and if I can figure it out without causing too many problems, I will do that. All right, back to the show. One of the other things that you spoke about that I found interesting is that you were teaching your son differently than you were teaching your daughters.
Yeah.
Because there's a size difference and a strength difference.
Well, the thing is, it was the same way I learned, and it's and I apply it to my kids as well. I teach them what they can do, not what they want to do.
Yes.
So the things that I would do in a fight, I wouldn't teach to my daughters.
Exactly.
Because the entire style, every aspect of it is completely different. It works for me, but it would actually put them in greater harm's way by trying to teach them to do a thing that they can't finish.
Yeah.
At the same time, my son, who's been larger than me since he was 13. Oh, he's a Sasquatch of a human being. But because of that, the way I would go about things are less useful to him.
Yeah.
But I was able to show him literally things that guys would use against me when I would fight these bigger guys. That worked perfectly for him. So he's actually gotten good at doing techniques that I myself can't apply. Like I know how to do them, but because of my size, it's kind of pointless. It would have very minimal effect. Whereas with him, I focus more with him on getting people's feet off the ground.
Yeah.
He has a very easy ability to do that. That would immediately give him an advantage. Mine is I have to focus on ruining your center of gravity. I have to mess up your balance. But
Exactly.
a guy that's 100 pounds bigger than me, I'm not going to dunk him on his head. However, that's a pretty easy matter for my son.
Yeah.
So he has this style that he learned from when he was younger and all the way up till now that he's very comfortable with. I mean, he's not a professional fighter or anything like that, but he's very comfortable with it just in using it against me.
Yeah.
But you have to tailor make it to what you're capable of.
And he has advantages because he could use the same techniques that you or I would use, as well as more. He's got a bigger tool belt.
Well, and it's defense is actually the perfect example to go through it. Like my daughters versus me versus my son.
Yeah.
My daughters, their defense, everything is evasion.
Yes.
Everything is completely focused on evasion. I did not teach them a single block. I did not waste my time. If somebody that much stronger than you is coming at you, successfully blocking them still got you injured.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
And the other thing is that I had to get into my head, especially once I started doing martial arts, that you even if you get injured, you're not going to die and you have to keep fighting. You can't curl up into a ball. No matter how much it hurts, as long as your arteries aren't cut and your air is not being cut off, you got to keep fighting.
Yes. Well, and just like that. Now, on the complete other end of that spectrum was like my son with self-defense with his defensive things with him. Yeah. I taught him. I'm sure there's a formal name for it somewhere, but I call it shield blocking.
Yeah.
Where you literally just crump your arm like this, tight, because his arm is big enough that a guy trying to strike him and try to break it. That's just a big meaty. They're not going to get through that with him. His arms are too big naturally.
Exactly.
And he's able to move that around and protect all his soft spots, just like a boxer. Now, me trying to do that, I'll probably get knocked off my feet. So it's different things that's the thing, is you have to tailor it for what makes sense to you. My daughter's is evasion. My son his is an actual formal blocking because he can take it.
Yeah.
He can take the hit by blocking it. Mine's just more aggressive, but you have to tailor make it to the person. Yeah. Otherwise, if you're trying to do what somebody else is good at, you're going to get yourself hurt. So you got to be honest about your limits, what you're good at, what you're bad at. You got to structure everything around that. Otherwise, you're just,
it's
a guy who can't box trying to be a boxer is going to get knocked out.
Exactly. It's futile if you're trying to do something that you are like everybody has their strengths. And if you're trying to do something that is not your strength and the other person is doing their strengths, you're not going to win no matter what's the size difference, anything like that.
So, but that's where I guess the martial arts stuff throws me off unless you find the one that fits you. But where you go into class where it just has this huge range of people, sizes and ages and strengths, weaknesses and stuff like that, and they're all learning the exact same maneuvers.
Yeah.
That doesn't sit with me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't necessarily, there was like 10 people in my class. Most of them were like teenage boys. There was a couple of grown men. One of them was a large guy, but basically everyone except for that one guy was either a smaller person. I think I was the only, there might've been one other woman. And then mostly teenage boys who were like on the scrawny side. I could tell they were there because they were getting beat up at school. You know what I mean? Like they never said that necessarily, but you just, the type, like kind of nerdy kids, nerdy teenage boys who were kind of scrawny and needed to learn how to protect themselves. And I think that's a great idea if you have teenage kids, boys or girls. Like it doesn't hurt to learn how to protect yourself. Ever, no matter what your size or your gender or anything like that.
If we're going to go down that road, though, let's really dig into that concept.
Mhm.
The number one thing to stop violence is learning to be good at it.
Yeah.
The more
That's so
competent you
true.
are in it, the less likely you're going to get caught in it.
Well, and the other
Um,
thing that they teach you in martial arts is like a lot of parents have it in their head, well, I don't want my kid to learn how to fight because I don't want them to be a fighter. But one of the first things you learn in martial art is that you don't use this unless you need to. And
yeah,
and they teach you de-escalation techniques before you even start with anything else.
yeah. The article I wrote in my Substack, the one
Mhm.
"Learn to Be Violent,"
Yes.
um, that goes into like all the training and stuff we used to do inside.
Mhm.
Um, a guy named Swagger was the one who started it all off and was working with me and some other guys and everything. I jumped into an established thing that already existed, you
Mhm.
know. But every single day, and it didn't make sense to me for years. Before we started, every single day,
Yep.
he would ask, "Why do we learn to fight?" And the only correct answer was so that we don't have to.
Yeah.
And I would say it just so we could get on with it because I wanted to be tough like these guys, but it never made sense to me until the day I actually became proficient at it.
Mhm.
All violence is fear based, all of it. And people are going to jump in and try to correct me on this, and I'll go at any example they want to give. It started from somebody in the situation is afraid. You're afraid they're going to hurt you. You're afraid they're going to take something from you. You're afraid that you're going to lose this or you're not going to be able to gain that. But it always starts there.
Yeah.
There's somebody in the situation is threatened.
It
Oftentimes it's the
seems like
aggressor.
the person who's the loudest, who has the biggest mouth on them, is the most scared.
Oh yeah,
Is
no, anybody running their mouth is hoping the bouncer comes and breaks it up.
Yeah.
So I'm not I don't I, but the thing is when you reach the point where somebody's arguing with you or
Mhm.
calling you names or talking smack, and your genuine feeling is, I hope he doesn't for his sake.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you're in a situation where that mantra made sense to me because I started going back through all these fights I got into when I was younger and before that. It's because I jumped. I never tried to de escalate it, I never tried to get around it. I was out to prove something. I'm trying to
Yeah.
convince everybody I'm tough. But when you're not threatened by the person who's angry, you have options that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And the
Yes,
fact of the
very
matter
true.
is the better you get at it, the less interested you are in it.
That is true as well, yeah.
You
I've
know?
only been in a handful of fist fights in my life, um, but none of them I started, and I was always the one trying to de-escalate. I think that's just my personality, and I always waited for the person and what's funny is 3 of the 4 times I was in an actual physical fight with a person, um, 3 of the times was with the same girl in, like, 8th grade, like, and it was, you know what it was? It was the boys telling this
Mhm.
person they said this, telling this person, like, just wanting to see a
Mhm.
girl fight, I guess,
Yeah.
and they knew I was gonna defend myself, so I was a good person to
Mhm.
to throw in there.
No, I only see it in hindsight, but when I go back to my childhood, my teenage years, and things like that, and all this stuff, there was a lot of situations where other people put me in them
Mhm.
because I was predictable
Yeah.
back then. Everybody knew where I was going to go with it if they just got it started.
And I think the girl that I got in the fight 3 times with, she had the same personality as you, which is why they would pit
Mhm.
her against me because they knew I would
Yep.
fight back and they knew she would start a fight, you
Yep.
know?
So back then, I didn't see it. It's one of those things when you're grown, you look back and you realize, like, oh, well, I'm a
Mhm.
sucker,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
But at the same
exactly.
time, it's also my fault because I jumped.
True. True. Absolutely. One of the things that, I was telling you before we started streaming is my husband taught my niece how to get out of,
Mhm.
zip ties if ever someone was trying to take her and zip tied her. So there's a couple of things. First of all, anybody watching, do research on your own. Just type into YouTube. It doesn't hurt to have the information in your head. But he taught her how to like saw through zip ties with her shoelaces, which is possible, or to you use force to like uh, do a move like this and it'll break the zip ties. It hurts for a second, but it's not bad.
No, I'm
Um,
laughing because you reminded me of something. I haven't thought about it in years.
did somebody zip tie you?
No, you're talking. We'll go. I guess this would go back to impromptu weapons, though this would be a very inappropriate one. But you talked about sawing with a shoelace.
Yeah.
A guy took a pair of just whitey tighty underwear.
Okay.
All right, and really, the elastic band. He took one of the little rubber bands out of it,
Yeah.
and he was like, "How dangerous do you think this is?" And I'm like, "All right, I'll bite. It's super dangerous. What do you mean?"
Yeah.
He picks up my shoe and he's like, "Hold that for me." I was like, "All right." He takes it, wraps around my shoe like an 8 where you can saw like this.
Yeah.
It took him about 12 seconds to cut my shoe in half.
That's it.
He just started moving and it cut it right in half like it was made of butter. Just
Holy
those that
cannoli.
string that has the little rubber bands around it that goes around
Yeah.
in underwear of all things. And
Yeah.
he's like, he's sitting there. I'm like, I'm just flabbergasted at what he just
Yeah.
did in front of me.
You could do
That
a
he just,
prison amputation with that thing.
well, he told me, he says, "Now, what do you think that would do to a person?"
I can imagine. As you were saying that, I was
Yeah.
imagining it on somebody's arm.
Now, I've never seen that on a person, but I remember him showing me that, and you said sawing it with a shoelace, and it
Yeah.
reminded me of that. I haven't thought about that in a decade.
Yeah.
But it's just, I remember just blowing my mind because he just hands it back. And he's like, "What do you think that'll do to a person?" I'm like, Jesus.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, another thing that I wanted to make sure I bring up is that if anybody ever puts you in the trunk of a car, you can
Mhm.
kick out the lights in the back and put your
Yeah.
arm out there, and somebody
Mhm.
will call the police. And
Yep.
there's stories that this has happened before.
Mhm.
And teenage it was a teenage girl, I believe, and she was rescued because of this. So she kicked out the back of the. Now all newer cars have a trunk release on the inside, but people
Yeah.
can cut
It even
that.
glows in the dark.
Well, the thing is, if somebody's planning on putting a teenage girl in their trunk,
Yeah.
most likely they've disabled that part.
Yeah.
But kicking out
Mhm.
those tail lights and sticking your arm through there and just waving it as hard as you can until you get somebody's attention is really the way to go. What you want to do is draw attention to yourself, and even if somebody's attacking you on the side of the road, all of these things that we talked about where you're trying to get away. Once you get away, just find another human because most humans are good and will help you.
Mhm.
The chances that you're going to run into another predator to ask for help
Mhm.
is very slim. I'm sure it has happened before, but it's very slim. So just
Additionally, past that, it's not even so much that here's what's saving you by running, just getting an eyesight of another human. It's
yeah,
not that that person is going to save you. Now, you got to look at this from the criminal's standpoint
okay.
because I lived
That's
around
why
these guys.
that's why I brought
Yeah.
you here.
Yeah, I lived around these guys. I know how their heads work.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, even if a rapist is chasing you, a kidnapper is chasing you,
Mhm.
another human being, it's not a matter of, oh, that guy might beat me up. That guy can now identify me.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
it's an
the thing that
eyewitness.
makes them stop is they can't get into their line of sight.
Mhm.
If they can get their hands on you, they can stop you
Yeah.
from their. But now they're trying to. Their immediate reaction is I can't catch both of them.
Mhm.
I can't stop both of them from getting away.
Yeah.
That's what makes them stop. It's not. It could be another woman.
Mhm. It could be
That's the
any
thing. This could be a rapist, and it could be a 12-year-old girl that you run to.
Mhm.
Not that I'm advising that, but his immediate reaction is I can't catch both of them.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's the thing that's going to make them stop. It is not a physical threat. It's I can't
Mhm.
stop them from getting away and identifying me.
And another situation that comes to mind in the same sort of spirit is if somebody is trying to take you in a crowded area, and let's say they have a knife or a gun to your side and is trying to walk you out, pick any person in that crowd and pretend you know them and
Mhm.
just walk up to them and say, "Oh, hi, I haven't seen you in so long." And
Mhm.
hopefully the person gets the hint and
Yep.
and takes you in. Most people would. If a random girl stopped me in a crowd and just started talking to me like she knew me, and it might just be because I run a true crime
Yeah.
channel, but
Yeah.
I would be like, "Oh yeah, how's your mom?" And just start a conversation, and that person will walk away so fast. Um, and on the flip side, if somebody ever does that to you, take them in and get them away from whoever they were with and find out what they need. Find out if they need help, find out if they need a ride, get them
Mhm.
a cab, whatever it is.
Yep.
Especially in
Well,
the
and
bar scenes when people are drunk.
the part is, I'm kind of going back to what we were talking about, like the whole trunk example,
Mhm.
swap and everything like that. I want to kind of touch on before that happens.
Yeah.
Hesitation gets people killed.
Yeah.
A citizen hesitating is the most useful tool we could possibly have.
Yeah.
Because we're not. That's the thing. We've made up our mind what we're doing
Mhm.
in that situation.
Exactly.
You having to think it through is the most useful thing we could ever possibly have. People, before these things need to happen, they need to imagine them happening.
Mhm.
And it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy to fantasize about something, but they need to imagine it happening. And they need to make peace with not having limits
Yeah.
on what it takes to get away. Because as confident, we'll go back to, the sex offender, the rapist.
Mhm.
As confident as that guy is in his actions, in moving forward, he will be equally stunned by an immediate reaction.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're not ready for aggression.
Well, and you were saying when somebody's pulling you in, just go with it and headbutt them.
Yeah. Well, I taught that girls and I showed them, it's when somebody grabs you, and I mean gets that grip on you, their entire body is positioned to pull you.
Mhm.
Their weight, their balance, their foot positions, their muscles, everything is geared towards pulling you in to prevent you from fleeing. The moment they get a hold of you and you charge into it,
Yeah.
they are off balance. They don't have time to react. If they're yanking you if somebody actually grabs you and yanks you towards you and you charge them, they're actually helping you.
Yeah. They're going to
And
either trip over or you're going to get a blow in on their face with your head.
That's the thing. Even if it's just slamming your body into theirs, their balance is completely wrong for what you just did. They're going to fall.
Exactly.
Now I tell my girls, aim for their nose. Put your head into their nose.
It's a weak spot on their face that you can get to.
Just battering ram them because, like I said, they're positioned to prevent you from fleeing. You charging them ruins the plan.
Mhm.
And they do not have time to readjust.
Yes. Absolutely.
People don't appreciate, unless somebody is really, really, really experienced and trained, everybody's reaction time is garbage.
Yeah.
I don't care how violent they are. Their reaction time is garbage.
Even if you're trained, if they're not expecting that,
yes,
it's enough to get away, which is the whole goal here, is to get away from somebody who's trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that want to try to hurt you.
Yep. So, but it's one of those things, but that's also that's why I was saying earlier about getting close.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, when you're in close, it's easier to grab you, but it's harder to hit you.
True.
And if running wasn't an option then anyway, getting in close you're better off, because the fact of the matter is, even if you ran towards me and I bear hugged you, your mouth is right by my cheek.
True.
And I don't care what kind of badass Tibetan monk has their hands on you. I don't care how trained they are. I don't care how experienced they are. A person's teeth sinking into another person's face, their lizard brain turns on.
Exactly.
They can't think. They can't respond. The only thing, every primal instinct in their body is escaping you now. They're not thinking. They're not fighting anymore. It shuts a human being off.
Yeah, and there's many soft spots like that, not just the cheek.
Yes.
You got the kidneys, you got the balls, there's...
No, I'm talking about just from a psychological standpoint.
Any immediate pain that you weren't expecting, I imagine, would do the same thing.
It's not even a pain thing.
Yeah.
It's the human, we're not going to go too much into how I know this, but the human brain cannot handle.
I want to know why. I'm kidding. You don't have to say.
A person's brain cannot handle damage to the face.
That makes sense. It's a psychological thing.
It is. Well, it prolonged damage, like a punch. By the time you realize you got punched, it's already over. The
True.
punch is gone.
Hmm.
But when somebody's going after your eyes, when somebody's trying to literally push their fingers to the back of your throat,
Yeah.
when somebody is biting you, your brain cannot handle that.
And human
You
bite
will.
strength is not a German Shepherd's bite strength. So they can bite
Yeah,
down
but
all
the
they
thing
want.
is,
It's not gonna
yeah,
kill you.
yeah, that's the thing. At that point, the attacker is trying to escape you.
Exactly.
You have broken that human being.
Hmm.
They're trying to get away from you now. They're not trying to hit you. They're not trying to grab you anymore. They're trying to shove you off of them.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean by it sounds absurd. It sounds graphic. But you know what? These are dangerous graphic situations.
Hmm.
If you have not just made peace in your mind that you're willing to be the person who does that,
Yeah.
that might be where you need to know how to knock out the tail light in the trunk.
Yes.
But the whole point is to avoid getting there in the first place.
Yeah.
You know?
And never give up. Don't, especially if the person has shown you their face, do not
Mhm.
stop fighting. Even if you're fighting psychologically, I've heard
Yeah.
stories where a woman was being kept in a shipping container and
Mhm.
she just started mind messing that man until he thought that she was on his side and she ended
Mhm.
up getting away.
Yep.
So it doesn't always have to be violence. If you're a woman and you end up kidnapped in a shipping container,
Mhm.
you're smarter than him. He's dumb enough to kidnap you, and you're smarter than him. So use your
Mhm.
brain to get out of stuff too.
Yeah, and going back to the whole never stopping part
Hmm.
is everybody. You can go back to that old cartoon joke of
Hmm.
like the angry girl, like pounding her fists on a guy's chest or something. That is
Yeah.
completely useless. But that's a perfect demonstration of how a lot of people respond to these things.
Yeah.
They try to fight back by going after the strongest parts.
Yeah.
You know,
No.
the fact
Find
of
the
the
weak
matter is,
spots.
this spot right here, where
Hmm.
your shoulder, there's an indent here where your shoulder meets your pec. That is vulnerable on everybody. If you can hit that 5 or 6 times, the arm stops lifting after a few minutes.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, yeah, you can't stop this, but if I can't really get it where I need to use it
Hmm.
because there's a nerve cluster right there, you shut me down.
Yeah.
You know, this is always vulnerable. This is always vulnerable. Your sides are always vulnerable. Your knees are always vulnerable. Your fingers. You
Hmm.
know, people, you get a hold of somebody's finger. You know, I told my girls it's like getting their thumb and touch it
Hmm.
to their wrist
Yeah.
because they're not going to let you do that, and they're going to bend in every absurd way possible.
The same way
Till
they're
they,
bending with your finger on their nose.
yes, that's the thing is when you start moving that, their body will naturally contort
Yeah.
to prevent that from from breaking down. They will literally collapse on the ground to keep you from making that happen. Now run.
Yeah.
So, if you lose me here in the next 5 to 10 minutes because my battery thing just jumped up
Oh
and told me,
no.
so I might just vanish into smoke at some point here in a few.
If that happens, I will end the show without you.
Yeah. So, but I always tell them it's just you go for, you got to go for these things that are the same on every. Grabbing a guy's hair, guess what? We can take that.
Yeah.
Hitting us in the chest, we
And the
can take
other
that.
thing is
Punching us in the face, we can take that. That's not.
grabbing somebody's hair in general does not hurt them, but it is a way
Yeah,
to control their head.
if
But
you have the leverage to do it.
yeah, exactly,
If he's
exactly.
6 inches taller than you and has 100 pounds on you, you grabbing my hair, I can keep my feet.
The thing is, if you grab a fistful of hair, that doesn't hurt. But if you take one hair, that hurts. There's
Yeah.
like having
So
long hair as a woman. That's
yeah,
people can control your head that way, which you just got to
yeah.
bite. You got to bite their hand.
But that's also, and then there's also the factor of like an ounce of prevention
Hmm.
aspect of it, where I
That's
commented the one time about walking heavy.
that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up. Because that's something that I definitely wanted to touch on is being aware of your surroundings.
Mhm.
And go ahead with the walking heavy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is these guys pick their shots.
Mhm.
That's they pick their shots. They pick who's vulnerable.
Yep.
So everybody, like, I use it when I talk about guys, but this does confidence in walking applies to women as well.
Yeah.
Cockiness, because the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is they're choosing guys watching people in the club or the bar or something like that, and there's the woman who's making eye contact and staring people down, cutting through the
Mhm.
crowd, shoulders up and everything like that, and then right next to her is somebody is the woman who keeps looking down.
Look scared.
And
Yeah.
yes, they pick their shots.
Mhm.
An ounce of prevention. That's the thing is, why would I go after the one I think is going to fight back
Yeah.
when I know the person 5 feet away? I can tell by how they're carrying themselves they're not going to.
I actually saw an interesting study that I'm not sure who did it, but somebody did, where they went to prisons and interviewed people who have attacked women or attacked people, and they showed them videos of people just walking. And these criminals said, "This is somebody I would attack. This is somebody I wouldn't." And it all had to do with how somebody was walking with confidence. They didn't
Yeah.
say anything. It was just a video of somebody walking.
Yes. But that's the thing is they pick their shots.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
but that's exactly what I mean about that ounce of prevention.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I said it in a joking tweet one time, but this actually is a serious thing. If you think somebody's following you,
Mm-hmm.
turn and walk towards them.
Yeah.
I mean, spin on your heels and walk towards them. For
Yeah.
one, that ruins their day because that just completely threw them off.
Yeah.
Here's the thing where it's like, well, if they're going to attack you, why would I go towards them? If they wanted to attack you where you were, they would
Mhm.
have already. They're waiting
Yeah.
to get to a place where they can.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the fact that they haven't already tried you where you're walking means that's not where they want to do it. Whether
Yeah.
it's
Or
because of other people, whether it's for any number of reasons.
yeah, if you feel somebody following you and there's an open business that you can turn into, do
Yeah.
that as well.
So, but that's
Get
exactly
around
what I mean
people.
by turn and
Stay
walk
around people.
towards them. The other part of that is you want them to know you know.
True. Yeah.
Because the
Absolutely.
looking over your shoulder and trying to walk a little bit faster,
Mhm.
guess what? They walk a little bit faster too.
Yep. Exactly.
But to turn and walk towards them, they have to stop and reevaluate their plan
Mm-hmm.
when you're walking towards them, looking at them. Whether you're faking it or not, fake it.
Yeah. Walk with
You know,
confidence, even if you're not confident.
because these guys, this class of criminal goes after weaker people.
Yeah.
They do not want a challenge.
They're
That is
pussies.
absolutely not what they want. So if they think for a second, why are you not worried about me?
Yeah.
That will make them throw the whole thing out the window. Like,
Very
wait.
true.
Does she have a gun? Was she got a knife on her? Why is this woman not worried about me?
Mm-hmm.
They'll pretend not to see you
Yeah.
walking towards them. That's how
Yeah.
messed up they'll get.
Another
So
thing I want to mention before you get cut off, because you
yeah,
didn't
I
bring
actually turned my
charger,
dimness down to where I can't even see you anymore.
is I understand that we need to teach men not to rape and we need to teach men not to attack women. However, no matter how much we do that, 99% of men are good guys and are not going to attack you. But there's always going to be that 1% that is. So don't
Yes.
get drunk. Have a couple of drinks, have a good time. Don't be wasted where you don't know what's going on around you. Don't be the one with the shortest skirt or the least amount of clothes on. You should be able to wear what you want, absolutely. But not asking for it is really important too. I know you should be
We're
able to, there's always going to be that 1% of people who it doesn't matter. They're going to find you drunk, half naked, and take advantage of that. Just don't be that person.
Yeah, this has nothing. Here's where everybody gets this wrong, and this is where spending my life around these things,
Mm-hmm.
I understand it uncomfortably well. Everybody talks about it shouldn't be. She should be able to wear wherever she wants. We should teach men to not do this and everything like that. Every rapist on the planet knows not to rape.
There's not a rape culture. Nobody's
There's-
cheerleading for rape.
That's what I'm trying to say is you got to address the victimizer in this
Mhm.
situation. This is what nobody is being honest about.
Yeah.
Is guys need to be raised and taught not to do this and everything. Like, there isn't a single rapist on the planet who got arrested. I'm not supposed to do that.
Exactly.
That
Exactly. Oh, I
there's
didn't know
not a
she did
single
that.
one.
Yeah.
They're going to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you teach them.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know,
obviously still teach your young boys, your young sons about consent and all of that stuff. Not, teach them to be respectful, but that's not going to stop. There's always evil on this earth. The
that's
devil
the
is
thing is,
trying to get to people, and there's people there's always going to be attackers.
I've never met a rapist who learned it from his dad.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
So no, that's a teach your sons not to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people did, and their sons didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're not talking about them.
Yeah.
We're talking about the ones that they got to.
Yeah.
That have they have such a sick, self-serving moral compass.
Yeah.
That these guys actually believe it. No, she really wants it.
Mm-hmm.
They actually believe that nonsense in their head. You know. Well, now she had to tell the cops that, man, because she had a boyfriend. You know. But
yeah.
Her and I, we knew.
Yeah.
They
Exactly.
believe this stuff. This is a wiring problem.
And keep in mind, when you're out at a club or a bar, young ladies, any young ladies that are listening to me, the men are there are drunk as well. So it's not making the situation better that they're drunk as well.
Pay attention to the guy who's paying attention to who you're with.
Okay.
That's the one that's scoping you.
Gotcha.
There's the guy who thinks you're pretty,
Mm-hmm.
and he's checking you out.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the guy who's keeping track of which one of your friends just went to the bathroom.
Yeah, they're hurt.
Those are two different people.
They're getting you away from the pack. They're trying to get you alone.
Yeah. So like everyone's like, that guy's staring at me. Well, yeah, because he doesn't have a lot of options in life, and you're the prettiest thing he's seen all day. So yeah, he's probably going to stare.
Yeah.
The one, like I said, it's the one who's paying attention to to your friends.
Mm-hmm.
You catch a guy looking at you, and then a moment later you're watching his eyes follow your friend going to get you a drink. What? The only reason he would pay attention to what your group is doing is to figure out how many people are with you, how can he get you separated from them. Those are the ones you got to look for.
Yeah.
Because you're going to step outside to smoke a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he's going to make a move.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you do want to step outside to smoke a cigarette, or if you decide to leave early and are going to catch an Uber, have somebody wait with you. Yep. And then they can go back into the club and meet up with the group or whatever. But have somebody wait, like it or let the bouncer, whoever's at the front of the establishment, know, hey, can I wait inside the door until my Uber gets here? And they will let you. If you're walking to your car, you can ask the club to have somebody walk you to their car, and 9 times out of 10 they will do that for you, because they don't want their establishment being connected to something like that as well. Marvel in the chat says drunk women think they're not responsible when they're drunk, but men are responsible even when they're drunk, which is very true. So ladies, just don't get wasted. There's no reason. Get wasted at home with your girlfriends. It's fine.
Also, you also want to look for the guy who's looking at you from the side.
Okay.
Yeah, let me explain this. The victimizers, and this is true for rapists or somebody who's going to rob you. This is true for somebody that's going to fight you here in a minute. Things like that. They don't even realize they're doing it. It's a body language thing. They never square their chest to. It's a psychological thing. It's a profile thing. So every time they're always looking at like this. They're never standing straight on and watching you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the psychology of it is. I just know I've watched it enough over the years that everybody does it. Everybody does it. When somebody's made up their mind they're going to do something, they start turning profile to you.
Oh, okay,
so
gotcha.
They look at you, they're looking at you sideways. And I'm sure somebody in the comments has got they can look up some psychology on this.
Yeah, I
don't know what it is.
I think you're about to drop because your audio is breaking up.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, your audio is breaking up bad, so I think you're about to drop out. I'm sorry. Sorry. I'd like to thank you for joining me. I'm going to stay on for a little bit because I can't hear you at all anymore. um, yep, he's gone. So thank you very much for coming, Justin. Hopefully you watch this back. But I appreciate his insight, being that he lived around people who were victimizers for 15 or 14 years. I really appreciate that. Really quick before I go, I wanted to let you guys know this coffee that I'm drinking is so good. And if you want to know where you can get it, it's at North Arrow Coffee. And I would appreciate it if you went over there and used um, code Hawkhound. Put that on there. NorthArrowCoffee.co and use code Hawkhound for 10% off. Hawkhound or North Arrow Coffee is very delicious, first of all, which is the main thing about it. But it's roast to order and also um, single source beans. It's great coffee. They give 10% to pro-life charities, which of course I support. You know that I support that. I appreciate it a lot if you went to NorthArrowCoffee.co and used code Hawkhound for 10% off. Also, if you would like to have some merchandise, you can see I have my Overruled mug. I have my Overruled shirt. I'm matching today. Look at that. We also have Crimeland stuff over there. If you like Crimeland, you can get all the stuff at hawkhoundmedia.myshopify.com. If you like any of the other Hawkhound Media people, their stuff is on the same page. You can get stuff from the podcast Lit or from Conspiracy Pilled. It's all on the same site. It's at hawkhoundmedia.myshopify.com. I really appreciate it. I'm going to stay. I feel like I should stay and hang out a little bit longer because it's only been an hour. I need to, when I have Justin on again, I need to remind him to plug in. You got to be somewhere where you can plug in. And it didn't help that him and I talked for about a half an hour ahead of time too. He probably would have lasted longer if we hadn't done that. Do you guys have any questions? I haven't interacted with the chat a whole lot just because I had somebody on and I was interacting with him. So let me know in the chat if you have any questions that you wanted to ask or any other tips that you know of that you'd like to point out to everybody else. Even if you had said it in the chat before, if I didn't say it out loud, let me know. I should ask Mr. Zed to bring the puppy in here because I know some of you weren't here yesterday for Lit, and she did really good during Lit. But we got a puppy, and you guys are going to watch her grow up. She's 11 and a half weeks old now. Her name is Ava. She's stinking adorable. I'm sure if you follow me on any of the social medias, you've seen her. Jess from Lit is saying she likes the idea of having the hairspray in the car. When Aquanet was a thing, this is how old I am. I never use hairspray. I don't use any hair products in my hair and really didn't. There was a time when I was very young where the style was to have a lot of hairspray, and I did. But for the most part, most of my life, I did not use hairspray, but I still carried hairspray with me just for that reason. I have not had a glitch today. Well, I did. I think that the fact that Justin's phone died is my glitch for the day. Mr. Zed, if you're still watching, please bring Ava in here. We need to see Ava. Everybody's asking for it. I missed what we're saying one for. Oh, put a one to. Got it. Yeah, make sure that's another thing that when Britt was on, we talked about. Thanks for bringing that up, Jess. So a lot of times when I'm leaving work, I get in my car and I sit there and I check Twitter, my Twitter messages, and I figure out, I try to figure out what I'm going to put on the radio, a podcast or something like that. And I'm sitting there not paying attention to my surroundings, looking down at my phone. And one of the things that Britt brought up is just lock your doors. So what I've started doing since that stream is my car automatically locks when I put it into a gear. So I put it in reverse and then I keep my foot on the brake, obviously. And then I start messing around with my phone. I'm assuming that Mr. Zed is not here anymore, which is why I'm not seeing Ava. Please bring Ava. We'll see. I'm not sure what he's doing. Yeah, so make sure you lock your car as soon as you get into it because when your doors are open, when you're getting into it, all of your doors are open, and somebody could just slide into your passenger seat with a gun and hold you at gunpoint and take you wherever they want to take you, and that's not great. Number 2 said she would carry oranges to squirt orange juice in people's eyes. I would assume um, there's probably better ways than an actual full orange. Like maybe one of those little bottles, you know, the little they look like little plastic lemons with lemon juice where you can like shoot it at somebody. That would probably Oh, Ava's pooping at the moment. That's why she's not in here. That's more Oh, trust me, that's more important. Man, that she poops a lot. I forgot puppies. I forgot how much work puppies were. Um, does anybody else have any other tips? Check the trunk when you're pumping gas, especially if you have an SUV. Also, pay attention to your surroundings when you're pumping gas because your view is blocked by that giant gas pump. So make sure you know where people are and what they're doing. Definitely. And be paying attention and not just looking down at your phone. Um, for sure. And that thing I was talking about not getting too drunk, I'm not saying never get drunk. What I'm saying is don't get wasted to where you're blacked out drunk, to where you're not gonna remember the next day. Go out, have fun, have a couple of drinks, and if you wanna get wasted, like I said, go back to your house or, you know Okay, here she is. Come here, Ava. Alright, so I want everybody to meet Ava. She's got a Bandy's bandana on. If you'd like a bandana like this, you can. I know, baby girl. There's a link actually to their Instagram on my Instagram. So definitely um, check that out. Is she not the cutest thing you've ever seen in your life? She looks like a mini Xena. She looks like a mini Xena. Get her up here. So you guys are going to watch her grow up. Um, hopefully in the next couple of weeks she'll be old enough to just sit on the bed during my stream with Xena. She's kind of squirmy right now, so I don't think it's going to work out because this would be happening the whole time. Yeah. Um, she's very squirmy and she poops a lot. That's what you have to look forward to if you get a puppy. We adopted her last Saturday, and since then, since we don't know what kind of dog she is, she looks like a little Xena, but she's kind of got less of a blockhead than Xena. We know that Xena. We did the DNA test on Xena when we adopted her. Um, so we know what Xena is, and I'll reveal that when we reveal what Ava is. But we've done a DNA test since then, so you guys will find out on air what kind of dog this is as well. Is she in the Xena cam? Here, I can make that bigger. You guys don't want to see me, right? You want to see them? I figured. Oh, I gave Xena a cookie when Waffle Salter donated earlier, and she was asleep and didn't see it. So thank you very much, Jess. I'll give one since Ava has Xena's from before. I'll give Xena one too. I want to let you know that Xena has a bandana from Bandy's Bandanas as well, but she does not have it on right now because the puppy was trying to murder her with it by just hanging her full body weight off of it earlier today. So that didn't work out. Let's move this pillow. I will definitely give Xena another cookie. Ava really, I mean, she's still a puppy and she will get diarrhea bad if she has more than one cookie right now. Once she's a little older, she can have all the cookies she wants. But that was a full size dog cookie that I gave her just now, so that's enough for her for right now. Zena, you want another one? This is from Waffle. You love him, right? Here you go. Little milk bone for Zena. Yeah, they love you guys, by the way. Zena loves coming in here and doing the show with me because she gets her nap time in. So, holy cow. Everybody's giving the dogs treats. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. Yeah, all right. Zena's going to get fat tonight. Oh, shoot. All right, Zena. This might be the last one. The puppy's still, it's a full size milk bone she's got. She can't even get into it yet. So she's still working on hers. Wait, why don't you shake? Shake. All right, good girl. Gotta make her work for it. She's such a good co host, isn't she? Love that dog. I'm pretty sure most of you are here just for the Xenocam, not for my commentary on crime stuff. But I appreciate you guys for coming. Please stay safe out there. I know that shake. She does both hands too. Can you do the other hand, Xena? This hand. No, this hand. This one. Shake. No, she doesn't want to do it. Yeah, they're the best co-hosts, by the way. If ever you start a podcast, I highly recommend getting a dog for a co-host. They don't put a lot of the work in, but people come for them. So it's great. All right. One more treat. One more treat for Zena. I'm out of treats now. Okay. So stay safe. Remember, nobody's coming to save you. You have to save yourself. There is definitely cruelty in this world. People like to not think about it, but if you don't think about it, you may, I'm not saying definitely you're going to, but you may become a victim. And if you do become a victim, or if somebody's trying to victimize you, have a plan in your head of what you're going to do. And hopefully by watching the last hour and 15 minutes, you at least have an idea of a couple of things that you could do to save yourself. That really was my goal. And I hope that none of you are ever in any of these situations. But if you are, fight back, use your head, and use your instincts. Everyone has instincts. I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your evening. Thanks for coming. We're going to do a Crime Land next week because it's been almost a month since I did a Crime Land, I think. So I had all these great shows planned and I forgot to plan a Crime Land. So next week it's going to be Crime Land. Keep those articles coming, by the way. You can send them to me on all of the social medias or get into my Discord. If you're not in my Discord, message me. I'll send you an invite for it and you can put them directly in the Discord, which is where I pulled them from. And then when they're in the Discord, they're a surprise to me and I live react to them. Thanks for coming, guys.
Cul-de-sac. Baby. Baby. The man's doing working and the women's in the kitchen, baby. I'm at the cul-de-sac. Shit. What you really think? What you really know? What am I doing in the cul-de-sac for? If I can't get out that blow like Satchmo, but I gotta look cool, I'm kinda full of crap though. It's just a man in black with the locksmith latch, and the cost is half, and he's offering that. Some evocative hats, he's a talkative cat. I'm like, what else are you selling, brother? He say he got some Afghans on his Ottomans that's woven with Muslim. Got some technology from the Muslims. Then I ask him maybe have him a husband and take a break and stay away until the televisions come and get what I'm selling you, cousin, if crime paid. Then I break the bank for 5 days, 5 lemons on D Live, minimum wage in my CD drive. It say center stage is a Dr. Dre just sitting sadly in the case. I trust Dre when he's saying out his face the death row is the label that pays, man. Same way I got an angel that saves, man. It's Yesu from the cradle to the grave. See, you gotta look forward cause the salt is back. Swear to God I'm at the cul-de-sac. Yep, used to rub the lamps in my sultan's hat. Man, now it's all back to this cul-de-sac. Don't know what's ahead but you can't look back. Lot's wife is just salty Jack. You got them handshake deals in perfect packs. Yeah, gotta fall back to the cul-de-sac. Just step right side, step right back. Step forward twice, kick your shoulders back. You got to step left side, step to the back. You still can't make it out the cul-de-sac. You got to step right side, step right back. 2-step twice, shake your salsa packs. You got to move sideways, don't get sidetracked. You still can't make it out the cul-de-sac. You just step right side, step right back. Same muzzle top, make your matzah crack. You got to groove sideways, don't get sidetracked. You still ain't